So that's me just back in from a morning run. Lately, without going too much into the morning routine, I've been pushing caffeine back by 90 minutes. So that was a morning run just on water and some electrolytes, just over 6 miles done. And today in this video, we're going to be talking largely about rest ethic. Thank you, Medball. Cool, so we've got a bit of a delivery from Food Up. There is no better parcel to come through your front door. How do we get into this fucker without slashing shit up? So inside here, what I do really like about this stuff is the fact that you get it in like dry bags. It's a really nice touch. Inside here, I've actually been wanting one of these for a while. It is the waterproof skirmish jacket. So I wanted one for ages, and I've got a couple of things coming up that meant I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna fucking get stuck into it. I'm kayaking in Norway in the end of June, so for obvious reasons that will come in pretty handy. And then I can't say too much about the thing I'm doing next year, but it's gonna involve a rainforest, let's put it that way. So again, this is gonna come in pretty fucking handy. So let's give it a bash. Feels pretty good. Let's give it a fit. Harry, you can be my guide, tell me if this fits well. How's she looking? Easy. Spot on. Absolute fucking Bobby Dazzler. Right, happy with that. Cool. Second thing, again, we spend a lot of time outdoors in the sun in Norway, so to protect my head in the absence of fucking hair. We've got this, which is new to the 3 Life product line. Ooh, nice little touch, thread lining, which is their new boonie hat. So let's stick her on, see how she goes. How's she looking, mate? Yeah, good. I am now fucking sunburn proof. Mega. That's cool. So today we're largely discussing the topic of rest ethic, and I want to start by expanding on that sentiment and talking about what it actually means. Now, if you're watching this, there's a good possibility, there's a high probability that you are driven, that you're ambitious, and you're a success-minded individual, and therefore it's highly likely you take an enormous amount of pride in your work ethic, about how much you can do, how much you can grind, your productivity, your output, so on and so forth. But the issue is humans are not meant to be like continuously productive. And actually, if we do it for too long, it becomes unsustainable because our units of output per hour of productivity goes down, and therefore we need to rest. But here lies the problem. If you're driven, ambitious, success-minded, and all those things, ultimately you're going to have real challenge sitting still, taking time off, creating white space, and refilling your cup. And that's what rest ethic is. Now, ultimately, it begins from the moment you get up. We see all these morning routines and these glamorized processes that are designed to enhance your productivity, but no one's ever stopped to consider, well, how can we actually create focus but relaxation in the morning so we're more creative, so we're operating with productivity, but we're not stressed, flustered, and running and rushing around. And it begins by understanding you don't have to get up at fucking 5 a.m. if there's no reason for you to get up at 5 a.m. And we're going to talk about dispelling a few of these fallacies and myths in order to increase productivity in this video. issue is with rest ethic that to rest, to create white space, to take downtime, to have fun, enjoyment, any of those kind of things is perceived as being counterproductive to the mission. And the mission is often to achieve, to be productive, so on and so forth. But as we spoke about earlier, the point of rest ethic, the reason it's important is because the longer you work, the more your output per hour of productivity drops. So actually, that then becomes a vicious cycle. You feel like you have to work longer and longer, despite the fact your efficiency and productivity drops from like 100% to 80%. And then if you try and do like an 8, 10, 12-hour stint non-stop, an absolute marathon of a day, I would hazard a guess in the last couple of hours of that day, your productivity is probably somewhere around 20%, if even that. And there's so much data, research, and so many studies, like real tip of the spear scientific data that demonstrates that like humans get distracted so often in those circumstances and in those settings. We're checking emails, looking at our phone, glancing away. So the whole point of rest ethic is just to be intentional. You're either in or you're out. You're on or you're off in this specific setting. So that's one of the main problems. The second thing is people's fear of not getting enough done, so on and so forth. Whereas every single individual, every single client we deploy this with who uses it realizes the devastating power it has, how they're able to basically do more in less time and essentially live more life. So now I want to talk through the logistics and the tactics of how to actually set up a week with white space, with time off, downtime, fun, play, whatever you want to call it, engineered in. And we're going to talk about why some of the things that you've probably been taught since day dot, some of the bullshit you've heard on Cameron Hayes' fucking Instagram are actually totally contrarian, totally counterintuitive to getting more done. Now, I'll caveat this. If you want to keep getting up at 4:30 a.m., if you want to keep running up mountains for no fucking good reason, if you want to constantly perennially be fucking tired, burnt out and exhausted, fucking fill your boots, mate. This is not the video for you. If you're interested in being someone who gets shit done rather than just always is busy, then this is the video for you, and I'm going to fucking show you with a walkthrough, talk through how to engineer your week. So this is, roughly speaking, our week. So the traditional wisdom has been, right, we put work in first. Work is the main thing, that is our primary objective, and it's about work. So historically, people would have looked at only that first and be like, right, okay, I work from here to here, I work from here to here, work from here to here, and then they hope that they have a little bit of time, a little bit of white space, a little bit of like gap in between that. But the problem therein lays when you have that little bit of white space, there's no boundary surrounding it, there's no intent as to what you're going to do with it, so ultimately, it's an exercise in futility. What typically tends to happen if you take that approach is your to-do list gets longer and longer. As we spoke about a moment ago, it seems counterintuitive to take that time off and that downtime when you know you've got things to do. So you end up just working through it. You get to the next task on your next work block and you feel pissed off, you feel shortchanged, it feels unfair and unfulfilled. And that's the reason why when it gets to like 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, you can't stop scrolling. It's actually a form of procrastination because you feel like you haven't had control over how and where you've spent your time earlier in the day. This is going to fucking stop all of that dead. Counterintuitively, you're going to plan in your anchors first. And what we mean by anchors, we're talking about things you want to do for fun and things that energize you, invigorate you, revitalize you. So ordinarily, that's the play, that's date night, that's activities, that's training. They are going to go in first. So I'm going to talk through how it is for me and many of our clients, and you can give the line of best fit in your own circumstance. So I'm going to use green. Green is going to be training, okay? So for me, I'm currently running 4 times per week, and I like to do that early in the morning. So I'll give a run here, 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 and here, okay? So rather than getting up and getting straight into working, I'm doing something for me first, and that's really important because as you'll know if you're watching this, if you're a busy professional, if you're a high performer, if you're ambitious, how easy is it to be like, okay, I'll go for a run later, and it gets to lunchtime, you're like, oh, I'll go for it after work, and then you finish your productivity, you finish your day, and you're just fucked. You don't want to do it, you push it on the back burner, and that's the slippery slope. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. It's always fucking tomorrow. It's always a someday shelf. And not only does that mean the training doesn't get done to the best of your ability, it means you actually make peace with fucking lying to yourself. Your standards drop, your integrity's gone, and ultimately you're then in a very aggressive downward spiral where you're looking at, right, I need a real intervention here, I need a real change, because critically, internally, you're beating yourself up. So if you get it done first thing in the morning, not only do you get to kind of check in with yourself, you serve yourself first. And one of the facets of leadership is keeping your shit in one sock, keeping yourself energized, fulfilled, happy, because that is imperative for you to serve others. You can't serve from an empty vessel. So get your shit in and done first. It doesn't have to be training. If that doesn't fit your schedule, it can be going for a walk, meditating, journaling, spending fucking 15 minutes on your own having a coffee. It can be any one of a number of things, but serve yourself first. So I get that anchor in. Secondly, I like to lift 3 times a week. Okay? So lifting can again be green because it's still training. These are my lifting sessions. Now what that does is it immediately allows me to see, right, what evenings have I got free? Because then I can look at, right, when could I potentially do things like a date night? When could we go to the cinema? When could we go out for dinner? So on and so forth. I've created little pockets of space because I've anchored that, and now I can begin to fit stuff around that. Now ordinarily I like to put things into work blocks. Even if you work 9 to 5, or 8 to 4, or any variations of that, your work times are set and constrained, I would still be an advocate that you need to chunk up your days. No human can work consistently to a high standard non-stop from 8 to 5. You can't fucking do it. You cannot. And if you believe that you can, you're lying to yourself, because it's against everything we know from studies of neuroscience, human productivity, like behavioral psychology. It's just not going to happen. So actually understanding what it is you want to achieve and then chunking that into blocks means you're intentional, means you're purposeful, and you're going to get more shit done. Now for me, I like to ensure that I get my big rocks done in the morning. That's when I'm doing the work that is, focused around doing the thing, being creative, getting loads of tasks done, which means my afternoon is then open for calls, speaking to people, typically things that require less intent and focus, which I've done in the morning. So as a very rudimentary example of how that would look, let's use yellow for this. Right, this is my kind of time to do the deep work. I've left Wednesday out, and I'll show you for why and a reason in a moment. Saturday. Okay, cool. And then I'll take my calls, meetings, etc. in the afternoon. I'm actually going to go back now and show you why Wednesday is like that. Wednesday, dare I say it, is half a day off. And for many of you watching this, that will seem terrifying. That will seem like I could never possibly achieve or create that. But if you work for yourself, if you run your own business and you daren't take half a morning to refill your cup, then close your business and fuck off and work for somebody else. Because that's all you're essentially doing, is you become a slave driver. You're not a business owner or an entrepreneur. You've just created yourself a job. You've given yourself a job. And even if you work for somebody else, even if you work for a company or an organization, you're a professional, then it doesn't mean you can't find pockets of space and windows of opportunity within this. Okay, that's ultimately what we're looking to do, is find areas where we can refill your cup. It's not at all about being lazy. And that is such a fucking old, wives' tale that needs to die. It's of the old generation. It's not a new age level of thinking. It's about finding pockets and windows of space. And something that's extraordinarily important to me is freedom. So I know that if I've got a work block in on Wednesday PM, I'm at my most productive, my most fulfilled, happy, and best able to serve and equip my clients if I've taken a little bit of time to myself on Wednesday morning. And what will I do there? I'll typically be stuff like spending time in nature, so going for walks and hikes, like walking the dog, like going to a coffee shop, so on and so forth. And these are things I would encourage you to do in the white space. So now we look across our week, is you had so much more white space than arguably you even know what to do with, okay? Because we've planned in our anchors, we've planned in our productivity, and everywhere you can see across is ultimately things that haven't got things assigned to them. We're now going to capitalize on that. What are the things that you inherently love to do? And this might be a difficult question for you to answer at this present moment in time, because if you've been ingrained to the hedonic treadmill for so long, you can almost forget what it is you inherently love to do. So the question I would ask you is, what is it you love to do when you were a kid? When you were 10 years old, what did you love to do then? And when was the last time you did that? For many of the guys we work with, it's playing five-a-side football, something they haven't done since they were a teenager. And there's actually quite a few lads in the office who do it, and they carve out some time on their Wednesday evening or their Friday evening or even their Saturday afternoon to go and play five-a-side football. It can be golf. It can be going to a coffee shop on your own, just for coffee, breakfast with a journal. It can be any one of a number of different things. We've got like 15 different opportunities here where we can refill our cup, where we can restore our ability to get shit done, to create output and to be productive. Because the grind set, that hustle mentality ultimately has broken infinitely more people than it has ever built. Now, there are some people out there, some extraordinarily successful people who are pushing the mantra of work, so on and so forth. What I want to draw your attention to is that that's what they're doing now, but it is not what got them there. I mean, we need to be really, really honest about that. We need to be really, really transparent about that. Because again, if we're able to be really honest, open, transparent with ourselves, if we look at the developing nations in the world, The people who work the hardest often have the least. It's very common for them to have 2, even 3 jobs. They work tremendously hard and no one can take that away from them. But do they have the level of freedom, the level of impact, the level of success that you aspire to have? Yes or no? Often it's no. So it's not about working hard and doing more hours. It's about looking at how much you can achieve and what you get done in the amount of hours that you do work. Productivity is a two-way equation. And ultimately it's about the output. Once you understand input, output, you realize if I get the same output with half the input, I've actually doubled my productivity. And that ought to be our goal. That is why rest ethic is important, and this would be how I recommend you do it. Now, obviously, this is a very, very, very reductionist strategy I've taken you through. I've got like 5-10 minutes on my YouTube video to take you through it, but this is what we specialize in. This is just a very, 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 very quick example without understanding all the moving parts, all the complexities, and all the situational specific constraints within your life. But ultimately, if you spend the time on getting this right, I can guarantee you'll be able to do less better, you'll live more life, you'll be less stressed, more fulfilled, and more productive than you've ever been. And if you want to know more about it, we're only ever a message away, and there is a contact form in the blurb below.